I'm Abraham Bill Jenkins. I was born on Johns Island in the year of 1929, and I'm 93 at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for, allowing us to discuss with you. I'm really excited to hear more about you.
Thank you.
I'm Gerald Mackey, a native Johns Islander, born in 1952, soon to reach my 3 score and 10 in a couple of months. And this is my home, even though I'm one island over right now on James Island. This is still my home. I come out to church here, still have family.
Um, so tell me, what are each of your relationships to Moving Star Hall?
Well, my grandfather was a part of the Moving Star Hall singer for many years until he got ill and died. And it's always remembered as the go-to praise house for the Islanders away from church. When they weren't at church, they were here. And so my relationship was through my grandfather, my late grandfather, William Mackey.
Sorry, I think I stepped on you. Can you tell me his name one more time?
James William Mackey.
Wow. And what's your relationship to Moving Star Hall, Mr. Abraham?
Well, I've been here so much longer than he was.
Yeah.
He graduated. He was born a year after I got out of college. So that's how four different we are. But his great granddaddy, right?
Granddaddy.
Granddaddy, always singing in here. Miss Alice Wine, and all those people who were back then in my time. And after they stopped singing in here for a while, the moving style hall was in Mr. John Prosper's name. He died, and the kids didn't seem to want it. So we had an organization on the island called the Citizens Committee. So we bought it. And after we bought it, then we started taking care of it, pay the taxes on
Um, can you tell me what this space looked like?
it. I didn't hear you.
What did this space look like before inside?
Oh, well, it was some board seats, take the lumber and build some seats in here. Enough room that they can shout up through the hallway and up the front here. And they shout in here. We, with the young boys, we had a big fire on the outside. And we'd stop by and see who was in there. And then after we stop by and see who was in there, then we try to send messages by signs. When you get a chance, come on out. See young lady. But the moving style hall was one of the foundation of most of the stuff that happened here on Jones Island.
How so?
Because regardless of your denominations, certain days of the week, they all meet right here. Not all, but a few of the people. And when they meet, they discuss things. And one thing they discussed that started the Progressive Club, it started right here. And a man got shot on this island, black man, by a white man because one morning and this white man's wife, they were across the street from across the road from each other. And as he was walking out, his wife came out, and the white man's wife came out and said, "Get your dog off my dog." She said, "Ma'am, I don't have time to be messing with no dogs this morning. I'm going to work." So she went back and told her husband. insulted by this black man. So the next morning, when the truck stopped to pick him up, he was out there with a shotgun. He shot him. We say he made the mistake of insulted as well. He didn't kill him in the stomach. So my daddy at that time was working in the market in the city. So he and one or two of his brother, my mother's brother, went to the hospital and gave him some blood and he lived. Then they tried to bring a case against this man, but it never happened.
And let me add what the inside of this hall looked like. He talked about the handmade wooden seats made by the men in the community, and there were just two legs and a board on top of those two legs, very sturdy. There was no back to these benches, so people sat up in those things all for hours on end, um, without any relief, but they were comfortable doing it. Because they always were here, not only when it was time for singing, but the people. They were meeting place. I remember the Women's Society on the fourth Sunday in every month. The United Methodist women from the area would become here for what they call a Women's Society meeting. On the second Sunday, there was a large meeting. That's where men and women from the community convened. And that lodge was like a burial society where they put their funds together, 5 and 10 cents, every month, every second Sunday. And if a family died, a family member in the community died and didn't have enough burial funds, those funds that they collected and saved over the years and months were used to help that family out. So.
I know you said that you remember him when he was younger, but I mean, both of you really watched your elders,
Yeah.
Create this space. What did that feel like? Like, did you have an understanding of what it meant at that time when you were watching your elders?
We were more interested in other things than what was happening here. But they used to send messages too. They had a big drum. They don't know what they did. Johns Island, Watermelon Island, and James Island. The guy just beat the drum. And all the people on these other two islands know that something is happening on Johns Island. Then they will see some party and they'll ask them, what's going on Johns Island? And if they know, they will just say what is happening. But that was the way because the telephone was no. If some places didn't have any. So you had to use the drum to send messages.
And I was young, but I remember I lived about a half mile down the road, but Mr. Foxy was the guy that beat that drum, and it was further down the road. But then I was young. I remember hearing that drum when somebody died. That was how the communication symbol they used that somebody had died, and you heard that drum, and then you said, "Oh my, somebody died." You didn't know who it was at the moment, but eventually you got to learn. But yeah, as Bill said, a big event, or when somebody died, Mr. Foxy would beat that drum, and it's amazing that that sound penetrated the air and moved how far it traveled.
What would you say spirituality means to you?
I'll let you go.
No, I didn't hear the question.
You're
What would you
older.
say spirituality
Oh.
means to you? And
Speciality.
how did this space shape
Well,
your spirituality?
I remember Mrs. I come and call her name because she's not here anymore. But Miss Ella Reed, we started off, see, I live a little further than Mackey. I live further down the road, the Greenville Road, but we used to call it Mattis. And we used to walk about a mile and a half or a mile to a store. But when we start doing these things, we start coming back across Pooler Bridge if the tide is high. But if it's low tide, from where I live to where Mackey lived, we could walk across the river at night. But we know all the way all the deep spot was on that because we used during winter time, summertime. But in doing that, my daddy was the first one I know that he stopped school in the 4th grade. But he used to go to Reverend Brewer, Reverend Coleman, and Reverend G.C. Brown. Reverend G.C. Brown was United Methodist. Coleman was, and Reverend Brewer was Presbyterian. And they kind of molded him a little bit because, he stopped school in the 4th grade and he went back to school. Some of us went to school with him. And he had the equivalent of about a high school education before he died. But in doing that, this was where everything right here. Messages, community meetings, everything was right in this little building.
I think I see what the refer to them as saints of yore, um, how they endured and their strength in the face of all of the adversities that they endure, but they still find time to praise God and to love God and to and love their neighbors and help their neighbors. And that's what spirituality means to me. And I draw on the strength of those who've gone before. Um, and even to this day, I keep mentioning and I remind people that we are where we are today because of the many sacrifices that our parents and foreparents made for us to be here. Even though they did not get to see or enjoy all of the stuff their posterity, their children and their grandchildren and their great grandchildren and their community are enjoying the fruits of their labors. So, so when you see that kind of strength, it gives you spiritual strength. It gives me spiritual strength to be able to do at least meet them or halfway, because I can never do. I don't think I could do all that they did and endure all that they did during the time of intense segregation in this country. Um, I'll stop there.
No, I mean that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's the reason why a space like this was needed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was consolation, even if it were just psychological consolation for the moment. It helped them to escape the pain and suffering that they were enduring. And they would come here after working all day um, in the fields, hot fields, and they would just each other and enjoy being in the presence of God and of the Lord.
What about the music? What would you say the music taught you and still teaches you?
Oh yeah, the Negro spirituals, and that's what they
Spiritual.
said. The Negro spiritual. I mean, I
People
just
used to
love.
sing so much around here that everybody, like those people behind him right there, and those people over there, they're all, I remember they all were beyond together. Most of them was gone now, but they used to keep us going by just singing, shouting, and they had a saying for anything, talk about hags and all other kind of stuff they talk about around here that we don't talk about anymore. You seem like something is missing. Like we were so proud of him because he was a Rhodes Scholar. He went overseas, he went to England,
Yeah,
He
University
went
of
to
Montana.
England and he was supervised a lot of school, and all these things came out because of what those people ahead of him did. And this was some of the places, or one of the places, that all this was taking place and give you that drive that you want to be like him or most like him. Yeah.
That music meant a lot, not only to the people on the Sea Island, but across the country. I mean, people were just enamored by the singing and the clapping and the shouting, and people came from all over the country just to observe and record. And the first two people that I remember extremely well were Guy and Candy. And Elaine had, or you had that book that they put together. They came to the island and they chronicled the history of that music and did all that they can to preserve that music, those Negro spirituals, and um, and it's just something. These people were not trained. They were not trained in music, but you just hear them, and when they start harmonizing, coming together, just inherently. It's a God-given talent. Trained. They didn't know C flat from B flat or anything else, but those notes came together,
Mhm.
and um, and it just moves you. And even to this day, it moves you when you listen to it. There's a CD out that Guy and Candy, well, it came from an album that they put together. And you got to been in the storm too long, and that's part of that music that Guy and Candy Carawan preserved. The members of the Moving Star Hall Singers, he used to, they organized and coordinated trips all across the country. They would go to Folks Festival in Virginia, even California, all the way out in California, for weeks on end, just sharing those songs, those Negro spirituals that people enjoyed so much.
Do the two of you have a favorite song that, particularly, or that, is attached to a memory of you
Oh,
being here?
there's so
I
many.
see that young man right there with his back on the turn, banji. I used to like to hear him sing, "It's getting late in the evening and the sun is going down."
Why? What touched you about it?
It just makes you feel like it's never too late. Or reach what you really want to see. We're still moving forward. And all start right here. And then, well, he was a member of the same church I went to, and Gerald. But he just had a way of singing that. I mean, he put his whole self into it. I mean, he just did this to get up there and pattern. I mean, he's put himself into it. Sounded me sweat coming all over his face, especially during the summer. But he's keep going. It's getting late in the evening and the sun is going down. I'll never forget that song. And that one lady over there, Bertha Smith, she was one of the leading singers at Wesley Church. I'm not gonna get into that.
Well, for me, there are so many of them. I can't even begin to describe which one that I like most. I teach the teachers of the adult Sunday school class at my church, and I constantly make references to these songs whenever they correlate with the lessons that I'm teaching. And there are just so many of them. I mean, I just love them all.
What about the use of the body to worship? Why do you think it came out literally from head to toe?
Because they, when they sing totally outside, inside, head back, sweat running all over their face. And Tootsie, which is that lady right there on the end, Tootsie we used to shout a lot. Because Gerald, one day he used to take some picture of this, because I used to take a lot of pictures back. Take a picture of this, take a picture. Tootsie just had, when she started singing, she expressed her whole self. Nothing is in reserve outwardly. Man, I just like to hear her sing.
I think they just, as he said, they just felt what they were singing. They felt it.
Mm.
They believed in it, and it just moved them. And at one point there was no organ, piano, or drums in the church. Everything was by hand, mouth, and the feet.
And washboard.
That was your musical instruments. And a lot of the churches back then, like this building, had wooden floors, so you can hear the shouting, the footstep, and I remember seeing people in their 70s and 80s jumping up off the floor. It's amazing. They felt it, and they use their whole body to express those emotions.
I mean, I think that also just speaks to like this space feeling like freedom, where you can just
Yeah.
be
Oh
free
yeah,
here.
yeah. And that was it. Black church was for black people. It was the only place you could be yourself, and you can feel that freedom, even though momentarily, because when you were outside world, you were faced again with the racism um, daily. But here it was freedom. And I remember doing the New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve, people worship all night long from 7 o'clock in the morning until at night until 7 o'clock the next morning on those.
Preach the old year out and the new year
You
in.
know,
One night.
yeah, sitting on those benches with no back cushion, you know. So
I don't think I can do it.
Tell me more about the New Year worship service. Like, what was that like for you when you were younger?
Well, go ahead, Joe.
for me, we would at that time we were a part of a charge, a parish. There were 5 churches at that time, one on Wadmalaw, 3 on Johns Island, and one on Young's Island, West Virginia. And the 5 churches would converge as one for one service, and people will get there, and we would start. But first, it started off with prayer and testimonial services, and that went on for about an hour, 2 hours, where people just um, gave testimonials of what the Lord has done for them, felt about God, and then we went into the worship service, and then at the near the end of the about 5 minutes before the New Year came in, 5 minutes to 12. Then you have the watchmen's calling how long watchman, and somebody is just watching their clock and saying it's now 5 minutes before 12. It's 4 minutes before 12. It's 3 minutes, 2 minutes before 12. It's now 12 midnight, and that's when people break out in praise and shouting and singing, thanking God for seeing another year. And as um, Bill said, at that time, then some preacher will preach in the new year because the old year had already gone. They already had a sermon for the old year, and the preacher will preach in the new year. There would be more praising and singing and shouting.
Can you tell me more about your father? What were the New Year's worship services like? Like, what was he doing in here?
Oh, he was trying to organize, and he did a whole lot of organization. But you better talk to Elaine about that one.
Yeah, he was more out there fighting for civil rights and organizing and getting people involved and voter registration. And I'm always proud to say that I'm the protege of He was my adult Sunday school teacher, and he also got us, the youth at that time, involved in the civil rights movement. He would pick us up in the van and take us to meetings in Charleston, youth rallies in Charleston at either Morris Street Baptist Church or Morris Brown AME Church. So an organizer and a fighter, fighting for rights for Black people, a school on the island, the credit union, and all of these things that because banks did not lend money to Black people. Black people had a hard time, but he fought, and got a credit union. He worked towards getting health care on the island. We have Sea Island Health Care Center because, again, Black people had to leave the island into the hospital. By the time they got there, a lot of time you end up with the drawbridge open at that time. There was a drawbridge on Maybank Highway. The drawbridge was open. People will die before they got to the hospital.
And
So
one of not to cut you off, but one of them, the Stoner River Bridge, you had to crank it open by hand. They didn't have no automatic where you just punch a button and it goes up. They have to get up there and crank it, and people in there crying, trying to get to the hospital. Some died right there.
so he's before me because by the time I came along, they did have an automatic, it opened automatically, but most of the time it was
But
stuck in the fixed position. It got broken, so you had to sit there for an hour waiting for an engineer to come and repair it. So
Can you tell me, why it's so important to preserve the legacy of Moving Star Hall?
you want to go
You
first?
take your time too.
Lest we forget. I mean, we preserve our history. We have to do that. So our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren and all people coming after us, not only our race but other races as well, will know what this building means, what history it entails, it holds, and if we don't do that, then all of that will be forgotten.
What is legacy, and why is legacy so important? You spoke a lot about, some of your elders who you watched growing up. What did you take from them that you hope to pass on?
It's so much stuff that they are throughout to us. Never be able to take it all, but there are some of it. When you start looking at what is happening today, like when I grew up, there was no high school out here for blacks. You had to lie and give a city address so that I could go to Brooks School. Because it was after you get to the 7th grade, that was there. And if they couldn't afford it, so they had to come up the hard way. At least my daddy had a truck. And then he had a bus. Then he got another bus. He got another truck. And he could do a lot of this work himself. And many of the people on the island, they didn't go to school for their training. They see all the people what they did. And they just pass it down. And that went on for years and years.
So yeah, legacy is important. What did I take from those who've gone on before? Their stamina, their perseverance, and their willpower to endure in face of all that adversities. You keep fighting. For Black people in this country, there's always a struggle. Every day is a struggle. So we have to be prepared to fight. James Baldwin said, and conscious is the operative word in this country, is to always be in a rage. So we're always fighting. So that's the legacy. That's the legacy that they left for us. I mean, the way they fought and got shot and killed some, made the final sacrifice. Had dogs bitten on, had dogs sick, had water hose put on them. I mean, but they still pushed on. So the stamina and the perseverance, the will to fight on stays with us.
I mean, in the faith, right? Like
And
yesterday we
don't
spoke
faith.
with Miss Loretta Stanley, and
Yeah.
she just told us, you know, despite whatever she went through, she always had the will to forgive,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
were her guiding principles.
Right.
And I think that's something that has stuck out with everyone that we've spoken to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've heard so much of what everyone has been through,
Yeah.
yet there has never been a doubt that they would be okay.
Yeah. Faith. Yeah, absolutely. They had to have faith. They couldn't get through. They couldn't survive without it. Faith in God, and that God would see them through. That better days were coming. And that's that was the driving force that kept them going.
Are there? Yes. I'm interested too in hearing more memories of each other.
Oh. Memories of
each other back in the day. What was he like?
what?
He was a smart young man. He was always smart. Even when he was working on the farm, he was smart.
And I
Because
hear
I got some pictures of him when he was a little boy going on Frank Jenkins farm over there. So I'm so proud of him that, and he's a member of my church. I listen to him every first Sunday, even on Zoom, because he stemmed from all the time, from the time we started to go into school out here until yesterday, all the day. He's always trying to help somebody. And I came by the way I came up, the way Elaine came up, then the rest of the family. And right now, my niece run this place. We just have to keep it going. And you never get too old that you forget everything. You get most of it. Something just mold in your life. Like we always used to talk about ghosts. People used to talk in here and said, "Man, hag had me last night." Oh, the ghost had me last night. And they said, "But I know I could catch her. All I have to do is get an empty bottle with a top on it. And before they put a top on that bottle, and sooner or later you see somebody walking that road. Some of these things were just to make you laugh. Right? But you said, "But that's him. That's him. I know how to catch him." Well, you know, he wasn't true, but he just make you start believing. And when you start believing, then you start testing it. And because there's so many things that we believe with no rationale behind it at all. But that's the way we came up. And we just can't just throw it away because you can't reason through it. Because like talking about Mr. Levy Green and all the people used to be in our church, they used to get so happy. Mr. Levy was Mutton Jeff. His brother was real tall. He was real short. But the two of them get together, they all about the same size. Because he could jump so high. He's about even with him when he's just clapping. And when you see, he said, you can't go around here hating people. And that's why on my daddy bus, you see that sign, love is progress. Hate is expensive. He know why he's saying it. He lived it.
Well, I remember, yeah, well, first of all, his wife, his late in the public school system, C.A. Brown High School, and we were good friends, and I always knew the family. He's a member of my church, but I think one of the things that impresses in me more about Bill is his cognitive acuity. I mean, he is sharp. Anything mathematical. When if there's a math problem or an equation, and I grab a piece of paper, he comes up with the answer. How did you get that answer so quickly? And he sheepishly grinned and said, he does it in his head. He works it out in his head. He is mathematical. He is an expert. He's a genius. Anything dealing with space and travel, piloting and galaxy and all, he knows it like the palm of his hand. So I'm always fascinated just listening to him talk about the space shuttles and traveling and the distances and the age of the earth and it's just, yeah, he is really sharp at 92 years old. I want to be like him, and when I get to be 92, he walks better than I do.
No, you know what they say? Compliment is like perfume. The aroma is sweet. Swallow it and it may kill you.
That's true. That's more than the aroma.
I'm gonna start using that. I'd love for you to take us through here, and anything that sparks a memory for you or anyone who would like to, who you think is important to. And feel free to, show each other. We'd love to have both of you a conversation about this.
Oh, you're on this baby.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Women smoking pipes back then.
So to smoke that big pipe.
And you notice that how they wrap the hair with cords.
The strings.
String, yeah.
That's Arthur Baltimore.
Uh-huh. That's Miss Flossie there.
Miss Flossie and on the other side there.
And Miss Bessie.
Bessie.
I think that is. That's Miss Bell Green. You remember? You know Miss Bell Green? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Mr. Willie Hunter, isn't he?
Willie Hunter used to live right back here.
Mm-hmm. And that's how people gathered wood for the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they gathered it and got back and went home and cut it, chopped it, and prepared for the next day, even cooking on a wood stove. Yeah.
Maybe I could see it.
Oh, you can see it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can see the photos too through them, so no worries.
You're right.
And this is the guy I told you was late in the evening.
Yeah.
He was a fisherman.
Yeah.
He died about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
That's him. That thing.
Yeah, people made a
That's Eli.
lot of fishing during that time, and that was food for a lot of the families on the island. Yeah, okay, let's see. That's Miss Janie Hunter.
The leader of the movie star hall.
That's my grandfather, and
that's his grandfather.
And
that's his brother.
That's his. No, that's my cousin. This is his great grandson.
Mm.
So it's Miss Jeannie and his daughter, Mary. That's Miss Jeannie. A brood.
We should have those 15 of them.
A lot.
That's the moving stuff over
Yeah,
there.
I see that. See that building? This is the building that we're in right now. It's one of the few praise houses that are left in the United States.
How would you? I mean, we can continue flipping. What are like the core differences between like a praise house and a traditional church?
Praise House doesn't have a denomination. Church is a United Methodist, Holy Roly, or whatever. But
Presbyterian,
but this one, they all meet here. Not all members, but certain representatives of that particular area.
Mm-hmm.
Meet in here, have a good time.
People coming together to worship from all walks of life, all faith denominations.
And that's the same picture there.
That's perfect.
That's what I do.
Right. Mm-hmm. This is in this space.
This is right in here.
In this space, yeah.
All this is right here.
In this space, yeah.
I tell you see it in the seats. I was looking.
Oh yeah, let me see. Well, I think there was one here where you can see a seat, but Tootsie was sitting on. Yeah.
Graveyard.
No air conditioning. This This is what this you can see here, but you can't see the seats. They're sitting in here, but you don't see the seats.
But no back to it.
No back, yeah.
That's the same picture there.
Mm. So another thing you asked about the praise, it was like an extension of the church when there was no service at the church. People convene at the praise house. Yeah, see the bench. See, this is where Tootsie is kneeling and praying.
See, that's what the bench would look like. And you see,
There's still one outside.
Hmm?
There's one outside.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know she'd. Oh, yeah.
you see that's what the inside of here used to be, like that.
This is mother and daughter.
Talk about a good time.
I think the first volume of this book was done in was it 1962, and then they came back in the 80s, like 20 years later, 82, and did an updated edition, second edition. Yeah.
I know you're in here.
Progress on John's Island. You know who that is?
Mm-hmm.
Bessie Pinckney. That's Miss Ida. Ida Days, you remember her?
Mm-hmm. Most of those people in it.
Okay, this is the second.
This is a new part. Eh?
Yeah.
That's my daddy right now.
Mm-hmm.
The credit Junior.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Ida,
Miss Alice.
Miss Alice.
Mhm.
That's my daddy. She used to run.
Always a classic picture of Miss Alice.
Mhm.
This is a picture on the truck where I
Yeah,
am.
but show me your picture.
And I'm going to let them find it. Find
Could you see him on that picture?
Right in the middle?
where? No.
No?
Uh,
You're on the spot, John.
yeah.
I am. Let me start.
Okay, right there.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, of course you were, John.
You see how that full that truck
Yeah.
is? People going to work.
You're the only one looking right at the camera.
No, I was in a contemplative mood, thinking how I'm going to get off this truck.
That's right. This is
Oh,
a new.
Yeah,
This is a new part of it.
Okay.
yeah. That's Elaine right there. That's Ethel.
That's my sister. That's me.
That's a nice picture of you. You look the same.
This a teacher. She used to teach us music.
Who's that?
She's after her husband died, she moved to Eddystone, and she started working at the Presbyterian Church. Miss Woods,
No,
Bill Saunders.
Bill Saunders. Yeah. Okay. Can you find me in that picture?
Can't miss him.
Yeah. This is part of my youth group, youth Sunday school class back then.
I've been in the storm so long.
Did you all get to hear that CD or selections from that CD?
Mhm.
Okay. I think my grandfather leads 2 selections on that CD. Meet Me in Galilee and what's the other one? I'm having a senior moment. It'll come to me.
No worries.
Seppi and Bernice.
The Septimal Cloud.
And Bernice, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about the space and then?
Yeah, anything else about this space and what it means to you? Any closing comments about this space and what it means to you?
And that's why we bought it, because we wanted to be part of the history of this island. And we're trying to hold on to it, but it's getting late in the evening. When he goes, you have to be someone behind him, because I'm on my way out.
Yeah, it's just a matter of raising up leaders, so that who will continue to work when then we're gone.